Cool, give it a few seconds. Hello and welcome to Full-Time Live after Fulham's draw against Liverpool at Craven Cottage. 1 goal each. Bobby Reid for us and Mo Salah for the spot from Liverpool. What a performance. Great result. Coop, senior. We'll go senior first. What did you make of that, mate?
I mean, we should have won the game first and foremost. We deserved to get 3 points from that, and it was only through Liverpool. I mean, I know we were under the cosh for the majority of the final 45, but that penalty I thought was very harsh. I thought we had a much better penalty claim in the first half, and yeah, the boys need to hold their heads high, and we should be proud of that result. And I think it was a real statement of intent, a real demonstration of how far we've come since those opening 2 games of the season. And yeah, I was very, very proud. I was buzzing. I mean, nerve-wracking second half, but I mean, after that first 45 minutes, I was very, very proud. I wish I could have been there.
Yeah, Fred, what did you... Were you expected to sort of come out the doors as we did? Because obviously we didn't really see that against Manchester City last week.
Yeah, I mean, with the fans in the stadium, the 2,000 fans, also shout out to them. They made a lot of noise. Honestly, I thought it was really good noise levels from them. We came flying out the traps, and first 15 minutes, if you didn't know football, you'd probably think we were the team top of the league, trying to defend for the title, and Liverpool being down the bottom. Thought we were really good. Lookman, obviously, class again. Everyone's just intensity was so high, and I'm happy that we got a point, but I just still think, anyway, but still very good result against Liverpool.
Yeah, a very good result against Liverpool. Obviously, everyone will be annoyed because we limited them to very few chances. We probably in that first half, I don't think they got into our box until the last 5 minutes of the half. Then in the second half, Areola had to make some very good saves, but there was probably maybe that Henderson chance. Maybe the rest they weren't clear. They weren't clear-cut chances. Yes, Harry had to. It was more him jumping up and catching balls that came into the box from him. Liverpool didn't look at it at all today, and you could see that from the first minute of the game. And I thought we were. I thought everyone put in an absolute shift today. There wasn't anyone who didn't put in a performance they needed to. If we go on to our goal, well, not even our goal, go even before our goal, we had Ivan Cavaleiro had 2 clear-cut chances where if even after we scored a goal, we could have been 3-0 up. George, what did if Cav just had his finishing boots on today, we could have been 3-0 up at half time, you reckon?
Yeah, no, he had those 2 chances in quite quick succession. And I remember I posted on the Fulhamish chat saying he's hit the ball straight at the keeper there. But the thing that I was forgetting when I said that is that he did so well to get into those positions. I thought he had a blinding first half, and it's what we kind of needed. We needed that intensity, we needed that pace, we needed him to draw the stretched Liverpool defence, which maybe you wouldn't get from the likes of Mitrovic if he was fit. I thought he brought a real element to our game, and he was unlucky not to get 2 goals for sure. For the first one, if he sticks that at the keeper's near post, a bit high up, that's in. It was just unlucky. I think it was the sort of rush of blood to the head, the adrenaline. He just thought, I'm just going to have to level this, and he just fired it straight at Alisson, and it was the same a couple of minutes afterwards with those 2 good chances. But he had a blinder. I thought he really, first half he had a sort of an argument for our player of the man of the match. First half, certainly.
I was going to say, Fred. No, I was going to say. If anyone said the 2 players from last season who'd be starting against Liverpool in December were Bobby Reid playing right wing back and Ivan Cavaleiro playing striker, I think people are like, what on earth are you talking about? But what do you think has changed with Cavaleiro in these last few weeks, Fred? Because, going into the season, I wasn't expecting... I'd maybe start we hadn't signed a left winger, but I wouldn't say he would be one of our key assets going forward.
I feel like this as well. I just feel Cavaliero's flicked a switch for some reason. I think maybe that Leicester penalty, because you can't deny that was a big tough ask for Cav. We've missed how many? I can't have lost count. I think we missed 4, and for him to take that in a big game against Leicester, I think that gave him a lot of confidence for today. And City last week, I can't really recall, but I think he did okay. But to be honest, I don't really know, Dot. I just think maybe he's got his confidence a lot higher. Bobby Reid as well. He's our top scorer now, isn't he? Well, he was our top scorer before. But yeah, he's finishing chances that I wouldn't really put my money on to finish in the Championship, to be fair. But I think it's a Bamford situation, really. I just think he probably suits the Premier League more than the Championship, which is quite rare.
Yeah, what did you actually make, George? Obviously, when the team news came out, obviously we saw no Mitrovic in the entire squad. Harrison Reed obviously was off, and Lamina came in. But were you surprised at all? I know Mitrovic hasn't played the last few games, but was you expecting him to sort of come back into this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think with that decision, you can only take it on face value of what the club's told us, and that he picked up a knock. I know that it certainly raised a few eyebrows. In that, was this, is he actually injured, or is it a sort of more of a tactical decision, and maybe Parker trying to save face, because it's quite a controversial move leaving out Mitrovic. But I think, I mean, as I said, like the club have come out and said he's injured. I think we've just got to kind of take that as it is. But we've done. Scott did incredibly well with the resources that he had at hand, and I think that he really put in his groundwork today. And he sort of knew that Liverpool, the way that they like to play, sort of on the counter attack, we spread them wide, and with the likes of Cavan, Bobby Reed coming in at the right wing back position, we were dynamic. We were brilliant. And maybe if we have Mitrovic up, we're slightly more predictable, because we know that everything, we're going to get the ball into him. He's going to look to hold it up, and we were a little less easy to predict, which caused Liverpool a lot of problems, I think. So I think with the resources that we had, I mean, I was obviously surprised not to see him in, but he's injured. So yeah, I thought Scott and his backroom staff obviously did their homework, and it paid off, and we were very, very, very unlucky. Can you believe this? We're saying that we're unlucky not to have won against Liverpool.
Well, we're unlucky not to have won this game convincingly, let alone just won.
Yeah,
and in the first half, we could have been 3 or 4 up. If we get onto the goal thread, obviously the ball gets played into Bobby Reed, and this was fairly soon after Cav had his second chance. Bobby Reed's obviously down the right hand side and absolutely levers it into the far post. Absolutely great finish from him.
Absolute wonder goal, really. I think, was it outside the box or maybe just inside? But
he just got inside and lasered it across to the far post. But yeah, great finish.
Well, whatever, it's a fantastic finish, and to beat Alisson as well, which is probably one of the top 5 goalies in the world. So
behind Areola.
Behind Areola, obviously, he's got to be top 3 surely with that performance, with the performances he's done. But going back to Bobby, yeah, really, really, really good finish, and that should have really put us 3-0 up, really, instead of 1. But yeah, we move. Fantastic goal.
Bobby impressed me with his defensive performance as well. This role, I would never have thought that Bobby Reed would be a competent and effective right wing back. But Dom, what did you reckon? I think he's inspired at the moment. He's playing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it seems to suit all his best abilities. It seems to suit, because we always know Bobby Reed, he's going to put in a shift. His work rate has always been something he's put in. And then early on last season, I was like, is he actually going to score a goal? Like, because he was having so many chances and not possibly scoring. But then I think this role just suits him all, because he's not like the focal point up front, for example. He's coming in off from a right wing back position, but he's pretty much up and down the entire. I would love to see his heat map from today, because it would have been up and down the entirety of the pitch. But he comes in on that right hand side, and I don't think necessarily teams, and not just today, but against Leicester as well, teams aren't expecting that other player to come storming in, because we have a right big wing back. You're expecting him more to go down the line and cross it in, but he doesn't do that. He does obviously sometimes, but he drives into the box and then can score goals. And yeah, great finish from Bobby Reed. And from then on, George, it was just key. We got into half time 1-0 up, and the goal kind of woke up Liverpool a bit, but not too much. I think it would have been, maybe they didn't seem to turn up in the game to at least the 40th minute. But once he sort of, it wasn't an onslaught or anything, but once we sort of got that 5 minutes of Liverpool being on top, we got into half time, and half time, it wasn't like I was like nervous or shaking. I was like, yeah, we deserve to be in the lead. We've been the better team here. Liverpool have looked fairly poor.
100%. And I mean, going into that second half was obviously when we were under the cosh a little bit, but I think, Areola just amazing. He kind of sort of equaled Alisson's performance first half, and that it was. I mean, I'd love to see if you worked out how many points a keeper like Areola is worth per season, especially for us when we're in the position that we're in. But just to have that calm competence, that there's not going to be any floundering. It just puts the defence at ease and provides that base level, which allows our midfield and our, and the defence to be calm and level and put in the performance that we have. Like just having Areola, he was worth sort of those 2 points for us today. As much as I feel like we should have won, just to have that calm head. You saw that when he plucked that cross out there from Alexander Arnold. The commentator was like, he's like 9 foot in the air when he received it. I think he really
his jump is ridiculous. Yeah,
and I'm going to say it. I think that Areola is like a top 6 quality goalkeeper, and we're very lucky to have him. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, we are. Obviously, you can tell that from his time, obviously at Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain, that he's got the quality to be at the top for the keeper, and we've seen that this season. You know, some people were sceptical when he came in, obviously because Rodek had such a good season last season, but he is just that level above. Rodek is obviously a Premier League quality keeper, and obviously we've seen that how he's performed on an international stage. But Areola's just step up, and I thought the whole sort of defensive unit today of Aina, Adebayo, Anderson, and Areola are actually sublime today. And yeah, I actually think that's probably Olaina's best defensive performance for us so far, because he has looked good in stages. But for example, the goal against Leicester, which Harvey Barnes scored, I kind of thought he was kind of ball watching a bit, and he allowed his man Vardy to drop off and lay it back in. But I think today defensively, all 3 of the centre backs were absolutely superb. Fred.
Mm.
Yeah, I know as well. On Fulham Twitter, the last few days, everyone was dreading him coming up against Mane, and I don't think really Mane had any real opportunities, to be honest. And I 100% agree with you, Dom and George, that that was his best defensive game. And also maybe it's a confidence thing. I just think Scott is such a good motivator, and after our really torrid start, no one could really see any light at the end of the tunnel for us for this Premier League season, including Jamie Carragher, really. And we've just, I 100% believe that we can stay up, and I think most people can now after the few performances against the big boys.
Yeah, I think we've shown we're more than capable to compete in this league. I think this season pretty much already tops the season from 2 seasons ago, considering the only enjoyable day of that year was when we won away at Bournemouth. The rest of it was a load of drops. But yeah, I thought today just, and if we look at the midfield situation, obviously Harrison Reed came out and Lamina came in. I thought the midfield duo though of Anguissa and Lamina worked really well. See, Lamina sort of sat back and was sort of doing the Harrison Reed role, but and Anguissa, you know, if only his final ball was a few inches better. It was because he was breaking through the midfield so many times. It was just that final pass sometimes was off. But I thought, the mid. I think, you know, in the midfield today, the only sort of player who was worrying me from a Liverpool perspective was probably Curtis Jones. He was the only one sort of breaking and driving through. Obviously, Jordan Henderson moved to centre back in the second half, but there was no, apart from Curtis Jones, that mad run he had towards the end where he had a shot and he probably should have played in Sadio Mane. I thought the midfield battle we probably looked better because we didn't look outrunning the midfield. Obviously, Loftus-Cheek was playing quite far forward, but yeah, we seem to win the midfield battle, especially in that first half, George.
Yeah, 100%. And as you said with Zamba, he I know I've criticised him in the past, but he's looking he's the real deal, and he had a good game today. I thought Lamina was fantastic. I don't think that we can't overlook his performance, and just sitting behind Anguissa, it allows Anguissa to have a bit more freedom with the whole box-to-box role. But yeah, it was. I mean, I raised my eyebrows when I saw that Lamina was coming in for Harrison Reed, because I just would have assumed Lamina gives you something else. It gives you that spark, that dynamism, that kind of, I'd say, slightly more attacking impetus. And I thought, with obviously going up against Liverpool, maybe you're going to want on balance a bit more defensive stability. But he proved it was a right decision from Scott Parker. And yeah, I mean, what did you think? Would you have gone with Lamina? I mean, obviously we have the hindsight of knowing that Lamina did really well, but just on face value,
I would have played Harrison Reed. I sort of Lamina had that really good first half against West Brom, but and he has looked good when he's played. But Harrison Reed
got subbed off against West Brom, didn't he? Though,
at half time, apparently due to tight hamstring. But yeah, I like Lamina whenever he's played, but I still, if it was me, would have expected and probably would have played Harrison Reed. And obviously Harrison Reed did come on later on for Lamina. If one incident we haven't touched upon is obviously the VAR decision in the first half with the penalty, which seemed to take about 5 minutes for them to just stick with their original decision. because when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, Fabinho's won the ball here, because the first angle, sort of the reverse angle, sort of showing it looks like he swipes the ball from under, obviously, Cavalera's foot. But then if you look at the reverse angle, it does look like he kicks Cavalera's foot, and then that's what hits the ball away.
It was a penalty.
Yeah, I when I first watched it, I was like, no. And then but it was just because they were spending so much time looking at it. I was like, well, surely this is going to be a penalty then.
It was just a waste of time.
Yeah, it was a penalty though. That's the thing that annoys me. And they like, you had Carragher going like, well, you know, it's great to see that.
Don't listen to him, mate. Just put him on mute. He's absolutely tight. Honestly, how is he still employed by Sky? I do not know. But that's another conversation. So
Carragher being like, it's great to see the referee actually sticking with his decision. And it's like it was the wrong decision. It's like either one of those. Like if the ref it was in the sort of, you know, in normal game time, it goes 50-50. I appreciate that. But if the referee had made the decision to give the penalty, and then, so that's the baseline referee's decision, and then they check VAR, he's not going to rescind it, given the evidence. So it's it's essentially whichever way it went. But I think when you look at it under the microscope, it was a penalty. You see, Cav's foot is taken away from him. He's just about to plant his foot, which would enable him to
he doesn't fall naturally like he slipped.
No,
he feels like his foot's been taken away by Fabinho.
I think our penalty was more of a penalty than the one that Liverpool were given. I thought it was incredibly harsh, especially given the way in which who was the ref, Mariner.
Yeah, I'll do Mariner today.
Yeah, the confidence in which we gave the penalty against Kamara, I was really pissed. I was really annoyed at that point. I was like, it's not our day. We should have won that game. We should have won that game, and we cannot take it away from the fact that we are saying we were. I feel like we were very unlucky not to get 3 points today.
The thing is, though, if the same game happens there, so we're playing, let's say, Sheffield United, or similar really, we were 1-0 up, 1-0, and the game ends like that. They get us like really 50-50 penalty with Salah, and Sheffield United score it. Everyone's like, "Oh, we got to be winning this, that, and the other." But the fact is, Liverpool. Everyone's saying that it's a good result. Obviously, it is a good result. I'm not trying to take that away. But when you look at how well we played in the first half, yes, Liverpool were all over us really from 45 minutes and onwards. But just really, really disappointed with that decision. And the thing, I just don't understand why he went to the screen. And if the ref goes to the screen, then you kind of cotton on that he is going to give the penalty. And he went to the screen and then just didn't give it. And I really don't know why. But I think for Kamara's penalty, really, the letter of the law is if it hits your hand, it's a penalty, and it did hit his hand. So I don't think really many of us can complain. I just think people are comparing that to our penalty shout.
I think it is a bit like it is a penalty for Liverpool. Like it does, and with the letter of the laws, it hits his arm. Therefore, it's penalty. But it was just how long they took with our one in the first half to then just stick with the original decision was crazy. So then when they scored, and I was thinking, please do not be a repeat of that Harry Winks game from Spurs from 2 seasons ago when we took the lead in that game, and obviously they scored right in the last minute. Then they didn't win another away game for about 8 months. But now we've got this point. We've a massive point against Liverpool. It is all about backing this up now against obviously Brighton and Newcastle this week, though, George, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. And I think we'll galvanise. And I mean, mine and Fred's dad, he works at Fulham and he's in security, and he reports back after these games how the sort of team are
inside knowledge.
Well, I mean, very minor inside knowledge, but he's like, the team, the confidence in the camp is high at the moment. He says that they really seem to sort of look out for each other, and there's a really good atmosphere, sort of a good sense of morale. You've got the sense that all the players are playing for each other, they're playing for Parker, and we're starting to gel. And it's been like this for as long as I remember, Don. We've spoken about this hundreds of times on the pod, but Fulham really hit their strides running up to Christmas, after Christmas time. We were always slow starters. That's always the way, and especially the way that the club
it's the same sort of time period where we started picking up some results under Ranieri. When I say some results, it's probably about 2.
One. Literally one result, honestly.
Yeah.
Please don't compare this season to that of.
Yeah, but no, as you said, we always do seem to sort of pick it up here and really. I mean, that's the way it's looking like. Obviously, that Brighton game on Wednesday is huge. Then obviously going away to Newcastle, then Southampton at home on Boxing Day. 3 games where we should be looking to get points from all of them, because I know Southampton have been very good this season. But if Southampton, we beat them in the Premier League 2 years ago. I mean, surely we can do it again. Same with Brighton. But one thing, obviously, I want to touch on is how great was it, Fred, to just see fans back at the Cottage today?
Oh, magnificent. And it sounded like a lot more than a 2,000 capacity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I thought didn't stop going, and everyone on Twitter gives us stick for the clappers, this, that, the other with the clappers. But they make noise. And you can obviously hear the noise coming through Sky. And I think that the fans kind of carried us over the line, really, to get us a point in the end. So fantastic to see fans back. Let's pray that London still remains in Tier 2 for Wednesday if they're going to say anything. But and for Brighton as well. Brighton's a massive game. We're at home for that, and we have 2,000 fans as well, which is brilliant because that's a huge game.
I think I genuinely believe that having fans would have given that Fulham side just that extra kind of 5-10% that just
cheer on.
You said yourself, Dom, that you saw every single one of our players turned up today. They were spurred on. They were up for it. And having, as a professional footballer, not having any crowd for what has it been now, like 10 months since they were last at Craven Cottage with crowds, and then to have that back, it definitely had an effect today. And I mean, let's hope for 3 points on Wednesday as well.
Well, yeah, you could. Well, for a lot of these players, like Areola, Anderson, Adebayo, Ina, Robinson, Lamina, Loftus-Cheek, it's the first time they would have played in front of the Fulham fans. So that would have upped their game for their confidence, because they want to prove themselves to the Fulham faithful. But if from my mates who got tickets for today's game, they were saying the process, it might have been a long queue to get in, but once you got in, it was just great to just not have to hear artificial crowd noise and hear just actual crowd noise. It's not like you're playing FIFA and the only chant you can hear is "Come on, Fulham."
Yeah, like the template, the template kind of Twitter sound like, "Oh, Craven Cottage is louder than usual" and all that bollocks on Twitter. But so really, we heard proper fans.
It was good. There's no sort of 3-second delay after it gone for a corner. But I mean, it goes to the point that look, when you said Fulham were so loud. You know how it's been that weird kind of, you can have the augmented crowd noise or you can have it genuinely. I logged onto my Sky Go and I was like, I must have the augmented crowd noise on because we can't possibly be this loud with only 2,000 fans. But no, lo and behold, it was the real deal. Fulham turned up today in every capacity.
Exactly. I think the fans had a real impact on the team today in a positive way. That all the players wanted to prove a point to these fans that they're here, and I think there is just a great team spirit. You can sense it with this side. And if we look at the sort of the tactics we used today, and Scott Parker is still unbeaten when he takes the lead.
Is that true? What a stat that is.
Yeah, I don't think he's lost. I didn't
know that, but that is
because obviously there was the West Brom game when they got penalty loss, but that was a draw. So he's pretty much unbeaten whenever he takes the lead. What do you think it is, George, that Scott Parker does that makes this Fulham team so hard to break down once we go in the lead?
I've no idea because it's the same side. Like it
doesn't feel like we change our game when we go in the lead.
Nah, I think. I tell you what, mate. I really don't know. Because with using the logic that it's the same 11 players on the pitch, we could theoretically go out with the same. If there was some sort of like tactical masterstroke, if Scott was going out for a draw, such as we would, you'd think against the likes of Man City away last week at the Etihad, you could just set up that way from the time in. But it's definitely some sort of mental switch that happens. That once we go up, teams just find it very difficult to break us down, and it takes strokes of luck such as that penalty today in order to do so. But I think it's just he's got the team very drilled, very fit. I think our fitness really does show. Like even at the closing stages, you've got to play like Robinson, and you look at
absolute engine that guy.
He said the heat map of Bobby Decordova-Reid and Robinson, like they must have covered some serious ground today. I think it's just a level of fitness that you're unable to keep up that intensity and just. I don't know, just organisation. I think Scott is. We said last season when at some points certain people in the pod, including myself, have been sort of critical of Scott and his tactics and maybe the naivety. But we always caveated it with he's learning. He's a rough diamond, and he's every single match he's taking something away, and we're starting to see that. And the one thing that you cannot deny about Scott is that he puts in those hours. He's doing everything he can to make sure that the team have everything they possibly can have in order to get the best out of the game. And we saw that today, in my opinion.
Yeah, what about you, Fred? What do you think that it is sort of tactically that, well, even what we did today when we went in the lead, that why we seem to be so hard for teams to break us down?
Well, I just think with Parker, we're a different animal under him defensively. Obviously, Premier League maybe, but last year his main praise from the Fulham fans were we could hold out a result. We could literally hold out a result, and for many years with Djukanovic and even going back to Kit Simons and them days, we just couldn't. We just seemed to concede late on in the game and drop 2 points or maybe even 1 point. But Parker, he generally loves the club, and I think that's such an important factor managing a football club, because he generally cares. While Ranieri, we keep on comparing this year to that year, but Ranieri, I think he was there for the cash really. And Parker. I said this to my mates and George and Dad, he was on the job. It was on the job training really last year, because yes, he had the resources. He had Knockout. I mean, he's gone now, but championship players at the start of the season, you say they're proper good championship players. And yes, he got us up by the playoffs, but he had to jump through so many hoops to actually get us there. COVID circumstances as well, and now it's come to the Prem, and one of the most important managerial factors really is motivating, and he's a star for that for me. So yeah, that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, and all the players seem to be buying into what he wants them to do as well. You know, Bobby Reed playing right wing back, for example, or Leina playing centre back when he's arguably a natural winger as well. You know, Joe Bryan coming on and playing left wing, or basically just playing two wing backs on the left hand side. But yeah, tactically to that full spot. And I think Scott Parker and the way he set up his teams, I feel like it is more suited to us being the underdog as opposed to in the Championship where we're expected to dominate possession for the entire game. So, and I also think the team and what we're seeing at the moment just embodies sort of what Scott Parker was like as a player as well, George.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid point, and yeah, I'm excited for given the first couple of games of this season, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be long, it's going to be horrible. And you know when you have that feeling of just that overlooming sense of dread that I'm not going to be enjoying football for a long time. Whereas now, do you know what I mean?
We've all had it.
You're like, that's that out of the window.
It was fun while it lasted.
Whereas now I'm excited for each game, and you know, Scotty has got to be held accountable at least somewhat to that. But in terms, just going back to why do you think it's so? Dom, have you got an opinion on why you think it's so hard for teams to break us down once we go up? I'm just curious as to what
I think it's just because the way we play. Teams, you know, we just with the work rate that's in the side, I think teams find it hard to find those spaces in behind. We saw today when Liverpool rarely got in behind us, and I haven't seen. We saw that in the opening games because we had a toilet defence, like against Aston Villa and against Arsenal. But if you look at the Aubameyang goal, for example, when you're looking at now and this defence we've got now, with obviously Anderson, Adebayo, Areola, Ina, Boydeka with right wing back, and Robinson left wing back, teams don't get in behind us. And I think that's why teams want to take the lead against us, because then they feel like we're going to open up more space for them to run into. Whereas if we're in the lead, we're not going to offer them up that space. And I think that's one of the main things is we're not really being countered too much really. And there's no space in behind for players to make runs or create space. And I think we did that today. Obviously, Curtis Jones had a few amazing runs through the middle. Mane had a couple of chances. But really, the Liverpool we saw last season and we've seen in stages this season just wasn't there today, because we completely nullified what they were trying to do, really. I mean, even with the likes of Trent and Robinson down the right and left-hand side, I think the better right wing-back, the better right-sided defender today was definitely probably Decker-Over-Reed and not Trent Alexander-Arnold. If you're going to say which one should be...
every day.
Which one should be going... I know, obviously, he's Jamaican, but if you're saying one's, you know, one of the best young England right backs at the moment, you wouldn't be saying it was Trent Alexander-Arnold. You'd definitely be saying it was Bobby Decker-Over-Reed. But if we go to the comments and see some of the questions. And if from Cole Scott, he said Liverpool play long balls. We've started playing this style successfully. Come on, Fulham. What do you think about this? Do you think this long ball tactic, we are getting the ball up, and then we're getting someone like Loftus-Cheek, I think, does this really well, where he can hold the ball up, and then I know Mitrovic is obviously a hold up, but he's a sort of a hold up player in the midfield to allow obviously the likes of Lookman and Cav to push up Fred. Do you think this long ball tactic is something that we've definitely worked on and we're trying to utilise at the moment?
Yeah, I really do think that, Dom. And also I just think, obviously everyone loves Mitro, but I just can't. I think our tactics and the way we're going to win games this year, he doesn't really fit into it, to be fair. And with Loftus-Cheek playing as at midfield and stopping the ball, holding it up, and then Robinson and Bobby Reid at right back, like steaming forward, it allows a lot more players to get into the box, while Mitro was just kind of a single man in the box with two defenders on him, really. So we get a lot more players into the box with Loftus-Cheek playing as that role.
Do you think that those styles are mutually exclusive though? Like, is there any reason why we can't play in a similar way with Mitrovic on the field? Do you think, Dom?
Just hasn't got the pace.
I think Mitrovic is useful in. I just think with the way we're playing this season, he would, if he was gonna be effective, he'd probably have to drop in a bit. He wouldn't be a focal point number 9 type player. He'd be one who's dropping in, a bit like what Harry Kane has done at Spurs this season, really, where he's dropping in a bit and allowing the likes of Moura, Son, Bale, Vinicius Junior.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and letting them to make the runs. That's the role I think Mitrovic does have one in this current tactical setup. The role he'd have to play. I'm not saying he's been playing number 10 where Loftus-Cheek is, but he is definitely have to be playing a lot deeper to allow Lookman and Cavaleiro to make those sort of darting runs forward. Then got Bobby Reid and Robinson on the overlaps and things like that. An interesting stat here that's been posted here by Gord of Thunder is Fulham haven't won a Premier League game with Andre Mariner in charge since 2011, 6-0 against QPR.
That day was one of the best days of my life. It was just after my 17th birthday. And do you remember, it was a heat wave that weekend. So it was late September, but it was about 32 degrees. And I love playing QPR. I love stuffing QPR. That was an incredible day. But yeah, he must have it. He's probably secretly a QPR fan, and then ever since that day he's had this secret vendetta towards Fulham. He's a Londoner, isn't he, Mariner? I could be wrong, but I assumed he is. That's my explanation behind that theory, is that he's a QPR fan, and then ever since that day he's had it in for us and not given us the rub of the green. But yeah, even Mariner today can stop us from getting a point, and it's unfortunate he took 2 away from us.
Yeah, we go to what Daniel Collier said. Do you think Parker bringing on Kamara was the right call? Do you think? Well, I mean, he couldn't do too much. Obviously, obviously the penalty was obviously hit him. I wouldn't say he gave away a penalty as such. What did you? I was very surprised though when I saw him coming on, George.
Yeah, I was a bit confused. I didn't really understand it at that point of the game. I mean, it was a bit of a balls out move to bring on a player such as Kamara. So, but then I was like, Park has played it so right up until this moment. I don't think I can really criticise his decision too much. And then when he did give away the penalty, I was like, I just sort of like had to sort of laugh because it's so Kamara, even though it's not really his fault. But it was such a Kamara thing to do, wasn't it? Just like be on for 5 minutes, and we're like holding on to what could
not even 5 minutes
could possibly be one of the most historic Fulham wins in the Premier League. And then he gives away an unlucky penalty. But I didn't understand it. I personally would have brought on. So Harrison Reed got brought on afterwards, didn't he?
Yeah, he got brought on Lamina.
So I would have brought on Reed at that instead of Kamara. But I mean, it's a great result. I don't want to be too negative and take anything away from it. But I don't know whether I'd have brought Abubakar on at that point. But yeah, I think it was just he wanted someone to maybe who had some legs and some, he's like a bull in the china shop, isn't he, Kamara?
Press. We needed to press Alisson.
Press, just high pressure. It doesn't matter if he gets booked. Just keep that pressure on with the press, as you said, Fred. So I if I try to work it out, I'd say that was probably Parker's thinking. But c'est la vie.
Yeah, if we go to what Jill Furia said, he's like, I reckon and I probably absolutely butchered his name there. I reckon Kearney and Mitro will feature against the weaker teams where we will dominate possession. I think this is an interesting point. We were sort of briefly talking about it earlier, but I do think that Parker sort of has not two separate teams or something like that, but there are clear sort of distinctions between the way we play, for example, against West Brom compared to the way we play today, Fred.
Yeah, when he says weaker teams, it's just baffling to me, really, because when you look on paper and everyone's predictions, we are the weakest team. And the fact that there are weaker teams than
I
us
don't
in
think
this
there was
league.
anyone in their predictions who didn't put Fulham going down, probably.
Oh God, everyone on BBC, Sky, anyway. But yeah, I do agree with this guy. I think Kenny I think Kenny and Mitro slow up the play if we're on the whole, but if we're playing like a Sheffield United or a West Brom or a Burnley, we are going to have most of the ball because most of their playing styles is they like attack you and they just give you the ball. So Mitro and Kenny are going to feature in this year. They're not just going to sit on the bench or reserves the whole year. They will feature because they are good players for us. But I just think we got different tactics for every game because every game's different.
Yeah, it's not like under Slavisa Jokanovic with Scott Parker where we sort of play the same way and hoping that works. Scott Parker adapts his team to who he's playing every single week, and I think that's one of his biggest strengths is his tactical flexibility with his side. That he knows you can't just set up the same way every week and expect to get the same result. You need to adapt to the way. Like if you look at the way we played, as I said, against West Brom compared to how we played against Leicester and Liverpool today, it was very, very different, George. And that's one. I think what we've seen this season really is Scott Parker. I think Scott Parker's really, when it comes to his managerial, but he's really turned up a notch this season.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, he's putting in the hours. You know, he's making sure that his backroom staff are looking at every single piece of data, watching previous games, trying to sort of identify weaknesses in the opposition, and yeah, it's paying dividends. It's graft. It's no fluke. You can say man management is exceptional. I mean, like historically, you've got two types of manager. You've got the man managers or the tacticians, and I think Scott is a combination of the two, which is. Yeah, it's great. I've got every faith in him. I hadn't always been like this as well. Last season,
last season, me and you, especially at points, were very questionable of some things going on. Like, is it especially after those first two defeats to Brentford and Leeds post lockdown? I was like, we could genuinely finish outside the top six if this carries on. You know, Cardiff were sort of right there, and then we sort of pushed on, finished fourth, and got promoted. And we look so much better this season than we did last season. Like we look so much more of a good football side.
Yeah, well, one thing that I would be slightly cautious of is the big games such as today, and I mean looking back a little bit further, the playoff final against Brentford, we seem to tactically pull it out of the bag, and I'm slightly conscious that it's because Scott is they're putting in more effort into these sorts of games. And really, if we're going to have any chance of staying up, we've got to perform like this and have this level of tactical analysis against every single team that we play. And I think we're capable of it, and we've got a real rough diamond in Scott Parker. And I think this is the first time this year that I'm comfortable saying this, but I think we've got enough in this team and in this managerial team that we can stay up. I really do. I think it could happen. What do you reckon, Dom?
I think we will stay up because I think there's worse teams than us in this league. I think Burnley aren't as good as us. Sheffield United look terrible, and West Brom. I don't know with West Brom. Like I feel like if West Brom sacked Bilic and they got in someone else who was a slightly better manager, then I think they could have a chance of staying up because we saw last season they're a good football side but I think Burnley, Sheffield United, and West Brom I think will finish below us. So that would mean we'll finish in 17th place and lovely jubbly. One last thing I will take from the comments though is about Ruben Loftus-Cheek here from Rick Y8781, which is does his work go under the radar just because he's not getting the goals and assists that some people would expect, Fred?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that guy, and also I think people kind of got Loftus-Cheek, kind of set their impressions with Loftus-Cheek after the first few games, and people aren't really taking that into account that he was out for a long time for Chelsea with quite a bad injury. So yeah, it took him a while to get to grips with the Prem again because last real time he was playing for Chelsea in England was the World Cup in 2018. So he has got to grips with it. I just think when he came in, everyone he was so hyped because he was a deadline day loan buy, but everyone expects him to score goals and get forward and assist goals. But I just think he's doing more of that donkey work, which I think he is doing very well at the moment, and leaving that kind of stylish and flashy play to Anguissa, who's obviously renowned for that in the Fulham fan base. And I think Anguissa's name is getting out after a few very good performances on Sky and BT, and I think kind of pundits are getting used to Anguissa, and he's going to be a class player. Well, but Loftus-Cheek, yeah, I think he is the man to go forward now. I think we've kind of established our team against the big boys, against Man City, against Leicester, against Liverpool now.
Yeah, George, with TC and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, obviously, I think you can only play one of them. I don't think it's possible to play both of them in the same side. Do you think, as we mentioned before, I think it is simply a fact of one will suit one type of game and one might suit the other. It's not like one's going to be playing over the other all the time.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Tom Cairney, you play against the bottom, the sides in the Premier League in the bottom half, and then Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he provides that bit more sort of physicality and dynamism perhaps. So you play him against the sides such as Liverpool and your Man Cities and your sort of top 10 teams. I think it's. I mean, there's a bit of variation on that, but it's not a case of Cairney's second to Ruben Loftus-Cheek or Ruben Loftus-Cheek is second to Tom Cairney. It totally depends on the squad, and it's good because it means that we're less predictable than we perhaps could be. And you touched upon it earlier, Scott Parker's got the ability to mix things up and make those pairings and those sort of one-on-one battles. And it was the right decision today. I thought Ruben Loftus-Cheek played well up until the point when he came off. I thought he looked a bit in no man's land at times in terms of he didn't really seem to have a clue what he was doing defensively. But then we took him off. I think that might have just been his legs had gone, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're gonna see a variation of. There's no set midfield at all. With defence, I think that the defence that we played today is the one that if everyone's fit, we're going to use moving forward. But I think we can mix it up in the midfield. We've got a lot of talent there, and it just depends on the opposition that we've got.
Yeah, 100%. I think I think that's what's so good about the midfield players we've got at our disposal here is that we've got so many options we can use. We don't have to. It's not like in 17, 18, and 18. No, 16, 17, and 17, 18, where it was just like, it's K-Mac, Seth Johansson, and Tom Cairney. There are so many different options we have in this side, and I think it's only a good thing. But that'll conclude today's full-time live with George and Fred Cooper.
Hey, can I just say before we go, we've had a lot of people in the Liverpool fans in the comment section saying, "Well done, Fulham, played well today," and it's really nice to see. And just want to say thanks to them. It's it's good.
Fair play.
All the best for the rest of the season, lads.
I wish I could say the same. No, I actually do think they'll probably win the league just because I don't think Man City look too good. And I'm not having Tottenham win the league. That's not happening.
Mourinho, though.
That's the only thing. But that's for another video. But yeah, this has been the full-time live of Fulham's 1-1 draw at Craven Cottage against Liverpool. So we take on Brighton on Wednesday at Craven Cottage, which thankfully I've got a ticket for. So I'll be disgracing myself in Craven Cottage as per usual. Back to normal. Then let's see how many goals I can miss on Wednesday. So add some to this. But yeah, this has been the full-time live on the Fulhamish YouTube channel, Twitter account, and Facebook page. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you guys next time. You whites.
See you later. You whites.